To explain the principle of figure-ground organization, let's start with an example. A text is presented in two different ways. On the left without particular attention to layout, and on the right, on the contrary, according to criteria of spacing, highlighting and balancing of the parts. As you can see, the visual effects are very different and the reason is easy to explain. On the left, they are limited to going to the next line every now and then, but the text is crowded into a single block, while on the right each conceptual node is separated from the others thanks to a white space to be perceived as an autonomous unit, while the key words are clearly highlighted to direct the reader's attention to what is most important. Furthermore, there are sequences of bullet points that make the reading progression easier. Therefore, on the one hand we have a layout that helps the perception of the conceptual architecture of the text. Whoever wrote it shows consideration for the reader because he wants to put him in the best conditions to identify the crucial points of the text and make it easier for him to reconstruct the syntactic semantic content he is expounding. On the other hand, we have someone who has not done this careful layout work, thus hindering the reading of the text, especially for those who have greater difficulty understanding or are unfamiliar with the topics presented and are less accustomed to using certain terminologies. In short, we can say that the text on the right was written respecting the principles of the so-called figure-ground organization. Let's see in detail what it is. It is possible to identify a first level of analysis of the figure-ground organization principle, which has been studied in particular by Gestalt theorists. Looking at the composition of the page, one immediately gets the perception of the blocks of words in the foreground compared to the uniform white background behind the text. Thus, one has the perception of the keywords in bold standing out in the foreground over the other words which instead form an undefined background. Note how the text blocks and keywords are perceived as closer than the white background, and the other words appear further away. The fact is that all these precautions succeed in guiding the reader's eye towards the crucial points of the discussion. As a result, there is a rapid identification of both the most important elements of the perceptual field and the secondary ones. In addition to the aspects related to ocular perception that we have just examined, it is possible to identify a second level of analysis of the figure-ground organization principle that has been studied by various authors over the years. The cognitive level. Anyone who has the patience to look at the extracts shown on the right will be able to notice a particular use of written language. The use of keywords combined with background words, that is, words that surround the highlighted ones but are intentionally less important, often redundant, sometimes even colloquial. The intention, more or less conscious of the author, seems to have been precisely that of having used them as a contour to create a cognitive contrast between what is in the foreground and what is in the background. In practice, a cognitive use of the figure background organization. In conclusion, we can say that respecting the principles of figure-ground organization leads to a reduction in ambiguities due to layouts that are too flat and monotonous or, on the contrary, too rich in confusing elements, which represents not only a desirable communicative attention but also a dutiful service for those who are, so to speak, less equipped in terms of understanding.